Hashtag Trending would like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers a complete networking stack, wired, wireless, and cellular in one integrated solution that's built for performance and scale. You can find them at meter.com/HTT. Court filings show Microsoft was pushing OpenAI to generate revenue faster. Rackspace hits email clients with a huge increase. Anthropic CEO criticizes Nvidia's sale of chips to China at Davos. And even Apple is falling victim to chip supply and pricing. Welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Newly unsealed court documents from Elon Musk's lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft are shedding some light on how aggressively Microsoft pushed for commercialization during OpenAI's transition from a nonprofit research lab into a for-profit company. The documents, reviewed and reported by GeekWire, include internal emails and text messages showing Microsoft executives, including CEO Satya Nadella and Chief Financial Officer Amy Hood, weighing in directly on OpenAI's structure, revenue model, and the urgency to start making money. At the time, Microsoft had already committed billions of dollars to OpenAI, and they were deeply invested in its commercial success. In a July 2019 email to Nadella and other executives, Hood questioned whether OpenAI's capped profit model was meaningfully restrictive. Given the cap is actually larger than 90% of public companies, I am not sure it's terribly constraining nor terribly altruistic, she wrote, adding that the final decision rested with OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. The pressure to monetize became more explicit after the launch of ChatGPT in November 2022. In January 2023, Nadella texted Altman asking when OpenAI would activate a paid subscription. Altman replied that OpenAI was rushing primarily because it was so out of capacity and delivering a bad user experience, and asked Microsoft if it had a preference on timing. Nadella responded that launching sooner was best. Within weeks, ChatGPT Plus, the paid version, went live. Musk, who co-founded OpenAI in 2015 and later left the organization, argues the documents support his claim that OpenAI abandoned its original nonprofit mission. In court filings cited by Reuters, Musk's lawyers wrote, "Without Elon Musk, there'd be no OpenAI. He provided the bulk of the seed funding, lent his reputation, and taught them all he knows about scaling a business." Musk's filing seeks up to $134 billion in what Musk calls wrongful gains earned by OpenAI and Microsoft. OpenAI, for its part, says that the partnership with Microsoft was necessary to fund increasingly expensive AI research and infrastructure. The case is expected to go to trial later this year, with further disclosures likely to offer an even clearer picture of how one of the most important alliances in modern technology was shaped behind closed doors. Rackspace Technology has shocked customers with a sharp price increase for its hosted email service. The company raised the price for a standard hosted mailbox from about $2.99 US per month to $10, effective for existing customers in March. For resellers and longtime customers managing hundreds or thousands of mailboxes, the increase is immediate and significant, with little notice. One reseller quoted by the Register said, "My monthly bill just went from $2,400 a month to $5,100 a month. A $2,700 a month increase." Another longtime customer reacted more bluntly, saying, "Really? This is how they treat long-term clients?" But a more revealing question may be why Rackspace waited this long. The company rode pandemic-era cloud enthusiasm to a share price of about $26 a share in early 2021. But since then, Competition from hyperscalers like Microsoft, AWS, and Google has weighed heavily. Losses have accumulated, debt has increased, and their stock has fallen to less than $1, a decline of more than 96%. But a recent management change may explain the timing and the urgency. In September, Rackspace replaced CEO Amar Maletira with Gajan Kandia, formerly CEO of Hitachi Vantara. Maletira moved into the role of vice chairman, and the change was widely seen as a signal that the company needed to move faster to address ongoing losses. Against that backdrop, repricing a low-margin service like hosted email looks less surprising. Email is a commoditized market dominated by Microsoft and Google, and competing on price while providing security, support, and uptime guarantees is probably not a sustainable strategy. Rackspace says the increase reflects the cost of delivering a reliable service. Now, whether customers will value that enough to absorb the cost or finally walk away will help determine how much room the company has left to maneuver. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei raised eyebrows at the World Economic Forum in Davos after openly criticizing the continued sale of Nvidia AI chips into China, calling it a weakness in Western export controls. Amodei argued that U.S. restrictions are meant to slow China's ability to train frontier artificial intelligence models. But that goal is undermined when chipmakers design China-compliant versions of advanced processors. While those chips are less powerful on paper, he suggested they remain capable enough, especially when deployed at scale, to support serious AI development. The comments were striking because Anthropic, like nearly every major AI lab, depends heavily on Nvidia hardware. Not only that, but just last year, Nvidia had agreed to invest $10 billion in Anthropic as part of a joint deal with Microsoft, who put in an additional $5 billion. Amodei framed the issue not as a business dispute, but as a national security concern, saying export controls only work if they meaningfully restrict access to large-scale compute. Nvidia has said that not only does it comply with U.S. law, but that its modified chips are designed specifically to meet export requirements. And the company has warned that tighter restrictions could accelerate China's push towards domestic chip alternatives, potentially weakening U.S. influence over global AI infrastructure. What made Amodei's remarks especially notable is not just the timing, but also the venue. Nvidia is not just Anthropic's primary hardware supplier. It's also invested in the company heavily. And that makes the criticism on the world stage unusually direct in an industry where such relationships are typically handled quietly. So it leaves us wondering, was this just an unguarded moment on a Davos stage? Or a sign that Amodei is so committed to this that he believes he can and should publicly challenge not just his most important supplier, but also a powerful investor, and get away with it. For years, Apple wasn't just one of TSMC's biggest customers. For those who know TSMC, it's the largest chip manufacturer in the world on the island of Taiwan. It supplies leading-edge chips to many companies, including Nvidia. For years, Apple wasn't just one of TSMC's biggest customers. It was one of the reasons TSMC could grow as fast as it did. Apple's multi-year commitments to buying their leading-edge chips gave the Taiwan manufacturer the financial certainty it needed to spend tens of billions of dollars on new fabrication plants. Those long-term guarantees helped underwrite some of the most advanced semiconductor manufacturing on the planet. TSMC got to be the biggest player on the leading-edge chip side, and in return, Apple got priority access to the best silicon in the world. But according to new reporting, that could be changing, and it might spell some problems for Apple. TSMC is now directing more of its most advanced capacity towards high-margin AI accelerators, where demand is exploding and margins are far higher than for consumer chips. But what's new is it's now putting pressure on even a customer as powerful as Apple, which is reportedly facing tighter supply and higher costs. TSMC is trying to expand rapidly, but this is a high-risk balancing act. Each new fabrication plant costs tens of billions of dollars, takes years to build, and is often financed with significant debt. If AI demand cools or stalls, TSMC could be left with massive underused facilities and very expensive idle capacity. With the speed at which this industry advances, what you build yesterday is no longer viable in the future. So building capability that was underused could be a big mistake. At the same time, if TSMC doesn't move fast enough, will customers like Apple be forced to diversify, potentially backing alternative foundries or supporting competitors to reduce their dependence on a single supplier? For years, Apple's predictable demand helped fuel TSMC's rise to the biggest chip manufacturer in the world. Now, AI is reshaping who gets priority, who pays more, and who takes the risk. But if even Apple can be squeezed on cost and supply, what does that say for the rest of the industry that relies on advanced chip technology for their products? And that's our show. Once again, we'd like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers full-stack networking infrastructure, wired, wireless, and cellular to leading enterprises. Working with their partners, Meter designs, deploys, and manages everything required to get performant, reliable, and secure connectivity in a space. They design the hardware, the firmware, build the software, manage deployments, and run support. It's a single, integrated solution that scales from branch offices to warehouses and large campuses to data centers. Book a demo at meter.com/HTT. That's meter.com/HTT. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a thrilling Thursday.